Welcome to The Healthy Hustle, hosted by us. Our hope for this show is to create something we didn't have during the come up. A community that supports a balance of growth and feel good, rush and recharge. The magic is in the dichotomy. And holy smokes, did it take us a long time to figure that out. Learn from our missteps, grow with our advice, because the work doesn't have to hurt. This is The Healthy Hustle.
Welcome back to The Healthy Hustle. I'm Mandy Bowles.
And I'm Mary Beth Dodd.
And today we are going to talk about new year, same you, just a different rhythm.
Whew, that feels actually so much better.
So refreshing.
There's so much pressure this time of year. And honestly, I usually love it. Like, I love getting to the end of the year, thinking about what happened, thinking about what I want to do differently. But this year just feels a little different.
Agree. A lot of things have been going on. Lots of busyness, right? And then sometimes when all the shopping gets done, the house gets cleaned, kids maybe aren't even back in school yet, then you feel behind if there's all this pressure. So we're here to just kind of tell you, you're not behind. You're just getting started.
I love it. And let them off the hook, right?
Totally off
a little bit. And that's not to say we don't have big dreams and big goals and we don't want to make big plans. But, one thing we've been tossing around is that, we want to set all of these goals with these specific deadlines and hit all these things. And what happens when we do that is we're at risk of not hitting them, of course. And if we don't, then we have to figure out how to pick ourselves up and keep moving forward. So we've been talking about this concept of what if a big part of that goal setting is setting those rhythms in place and the habits in place and the things that we know we need to do to get to where we want to get to. Not to say we don't have deadlines, because I think those are important too, but just that we're pointed in the direction.
Right. Because by the time this episode's actually airing, I am going to be bold and say that most of the resolutions that started January 1st, probably over 80 to 90% of them statistically will have been blown. Now you're watching.
Sorry, guys. It's okay.
Here's the reset. And it's time to be real, I feel like, with goals and what the year is going to look like, because I feel like setting oneself up for failure is not a great way to have a strong year.
No, it's not. And I think, on the other side of this, there's been times in my career, for example, that I've set really big goals and then hit the goals. And then do you know that feeling, Mandy, where it's like you hit the goal and there's this immediate letdown right after where you're like, oh, I thought it was going to be this pinnacle moment. Mm-hmm. And instead it just left me feeling like, oh, great. Well, what's next? And I immediately, and maybe that's just how I'm wrapped, but immediately started thinking about the next thing. And there was that just little bit of disappointment in that.
Totally. And I feel like what you're explaining is sometimes when we hit that goal, we feel so much pressure too. Oh no, this has been hit. How do I begin to keep up? And we were talking about this earlier, and I loved when you were talking about the little things that you can do every day and how to reframe goals, resolutions, and whatever that might be into daily activities.
Yeah.
So I'd love for you to share about that.
Oh, yeah. Well, okay. So I started talking about Chris, my husband,
yes.
And he has been on a fitness journey for as long as I've known him, and I should say we have together. I had 4 kids. We both gained weight together. Then we'd get back in shape. It was just always this cycle, and we would be really good at going, all right, we have this vacation coming up, or, this big moment in time that we're going to be in really good shape for that. And we would, get everything set in place and start running after that. And there were times when we hit some really great goals, and our fitness was pretty good and our weight was where we wanted it. But it just didn't seem like it was really sustainable. And Chris started saying probably a couple of years ago, he's like, I'm tired of setting these, benchmarks and these goals and not hitting them. He's like, I'm just going to put the right habits in place in order to get there. And I remember I was like, it was almost like an eye roll from me because I'm goal driven and just kind of, I don't know. I just want to run after something so hard, and he's just more measured. And I remember being like, okay, cool. Put your habits in place. That's great. And it sounds like, every leadership talk that we hear out there, but I've watched him over the course of the last couple of years get in the best shape of his life. And he has a big birthday coming up this next week. And he's can be so proud that he's changed all these habits. I mean, he gets up at the same time every day. He goes to sleep at the same time. He drinks tons of water. He takes all kinds of supplements. He's relentless with what he eats and what he'll put in his body, what he won't, you know? So it's like, I've watched him essentially probably hit the best goal he could have ever planned before, but he did it over time and by doing right actions instead of just, you know, going after some short-term thing or some vacation that we wanted to get ready for, you know?
Right. And I love that because I feel like the extreme is always going to set us up for failure. So it's like that realization of, I don't have to be extreme. It's just the daily discipline of being better than I was the day before, whether that's business or health. I think it applies to both.
Yeah. And it's the thing, like when you say that, it immediately makes me go like, it's not as shiny, right?
Yeah.
It's not as like, it's not new year, new me. Like
Right.
that is exciting and shiny and whatever. But I think there can still be excitement in pointing ourselves like in the direction of our goals and actually like celebrating all of those little things, you know, that we can do along the way and like investing in them. So I think that that's good too.
Right. And I think there's a lot of times where people might start a year and we feel stuck, you know, well, oh my gosh, there's not anything really exciting that I want to go for. And there's nothing that's going to set your soul on fire that year. And I think that can be a really hard place to be at the beginning of the year. If you don't have anything that feels like a huge goal, then what can we do, right? What is it? What are we going to look after? And how are we going to make this year different than the next? And I was seeing some things all over my news feed over the last couple of days. And I thought, oh, wow, I can totally relate to that because I've been in that season where you just don't have that thing that sets you on fire, or you don't feel is so exciting, or you don't have that one thing that's really just impressing upon you. And I thought how it was really provocative to think about when they said it's giving yourself the space and the margin and asking, like for me, it's asking God to just show me what those things look like that are in line with where he wants me to be. And then when you start to get those ideas, then you know that you're on the right track. And then that's when you can start to set those daily disciplines to be in alignment with what those goals are. And I think for a lot of people, if you don't have goals, have you given yourself margin, right? Do you have the margin? Do you have the brain space? Do you have the bandwidth to even think and create and to pray, really just ponder and allow the space to hear and listen. So I think even just a goal to get up earlier, an hour earlier than the family, and that quiet time is huge because then it can allow that bandwidth and that margin for those ideas and those seeds to come your way.
Ooh, you're convicting me right now to get up earlier. I definitely need to do it. Oh, I think that's so good. And I think if there's something we're missing, like especially those of you listening who are like, you're after growing as a leader, growing in a business, or growing as, you know, a CEO, or launching out in a business for the first time, we want to get better and better, you know? And the thing that we're missing so much of the time is that space.
Yeah.
Exactly what you're talking about. And we underestimate how valuable that thinking time is, and that space where we actually need to just get quiet and just allow that to be a big part of our day. And I mean, some of the greatest leaders that are out there, they schedule that in their day. So I think that's key, whether it's early in the morning and there's some other time, you know, you can shut off all devices and be thinking and planning. So if you don't have a strong conviction right now about goals for the year and things that you want to focus on and do, like make the space for that. I think that's huge.
Right. And just for me personally, like I will tell you, this morning it didn't happen. You know, I was like, oh, this is great. I got up earlier, but then my daughter got up because she was so excited about her day. But the thing is,
that's how I hope I wake up too.
I know this about her. Like, how often does she do this? So when is it going to be for me to go to bed earlier so I can get up even earlier? Because I know that I'm going to have to get up really early to be able to actually have that time. Because I do get up pretty early, but it's not early enough unless it's a school day. And then she wants to, you know, sleep in. But I just know, like I'm going to have to start getting up at 4:30 to have that time. And I used to do that at night. I'm too old for that now. So I'm going to have to start doing it earlier, which means I'm going to have to go to bed earlier because I can't sacrifice sleep just to get up earlier. Again, I'm too old for that.
Right. Sleep is really,
I have to have sleep.
Really important. This is about the healthy hustle, guys.
We
got to get that sleep.
Yeah. So I'm going to have to go to bed earlier so I can get up early enough to give myself that space. Because once people wake up in the household, I feel like so many moms can relate to this. Then they need things, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Especially 6-year-old.
Oh man. Yes.
Yes.
They definitely need things. For some reason, like I'm thinking about the person listening right now that maybe is looking backward, over this last year and kind of thinking about like, okay, we're talking about goals and getting excited for a new year. Like what happened last year? Like, did I hit my goals? Did I get where I wanted to be? And I just read this whole thing that really impacted me that was talking about like butterflies that go into the cocoon. And while they're in the cocoon, it's like mush in there. It's literally like mush. So like, when we're talking about people are like, they don't know what their goals are. They look back and they're like, oh, what happened last year? And it can feel like this mush when we're in that state. But the reality is we're being made into something and we're growing into something that's going to be beautiful, that's going to be kind of this butterfly and this new, maybe not new you, but like this just beautiful version of the next season that you get to step into. Do you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it's like, even like when I look back, like last year was not an easy year for me. And I ended the year with like a bunch of like health issues for both of my parents and like just a lot with that stuff. Also capped the year out with a broken arm on Christmas Eve for my 10-year-old or almost 10-year-old,
gosh.
And so it was just like, when I look back in the year, I was like, oh, like I read that thing and I was like, it was kind of mush. It felt kind of mushy. But the reality is I have to trust that even when my goals or my dreams aren't fully defined, that I'm headed in that direction. And there's going to be something beautiful that will be made out of the total chaos.
But I've read a lot on this lately, actually.
Really?
And I've seen a lot of people weigh in, and they say before some of the most iconic people that we know have their moments where they're like, wow, like this is going to go and change the world. They have those seasons. And so those periods and those seasons of waiting and feeling, maybe foggy or a little unclear, or like you're in a waiting period, are usually preemptive to those crystal clear ideas and goals that are really going to make an impact on your life. So I'm here to tell you that you're in the right season.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's like such wisdom. And I do think so many times we give up on stuff too quickly, even when it just feels like this is going nowhere. We have to decide, like, do we give up on this thing or do we not? And we have a whole episode where we talk a little bit about that. Right. But I think just the times we push through and we actually get to where we want to go, we end up like hindsight's 2020, right? We look back and we're like, dang, good thing I didn't stop when it felt like mush 2 years ago or 2 weeks ago or whenever it was. It's like, we're so glad that we continue.
It does make me think about a time in my life when I knew where I wanted to go, but the path that we know is going to lead us there isn't always one we want to take, right? So sometimes when you know what the end destination you're clear on, you'll do the hard things to get there. But then when you think, well, what is it? Where is the end going? That day to day can be tough because you feel a little unclear if when you're on the right path. So then I think it comes back to, how can you grow as a person? Like how can you get closer to the version of you that you want to be when, you're 75 years old or 65. So maybe even shifting the goals to growing yourself and developing yourself personally, which I think is going to make an impact professionally. And it's going to make an impact on your personal life as well.
Yeah, that's so true. And I think we underestimate how important that is. And even though it's like so cliche, like it's all about the journey, like it's like, it truly is like who you are becoming in the process. Like that really is the goal and should be the goal. It's not just these benchmarks and these things. Like if I look back and I think of, my career goals when I was 22 or 25 or 28 or 30, like it would look so different. And I could never fathom that I'd be doing what I'm doing now. It's so different. But I started developing myself as a leader when I was in my teens, like strategically, like I started reading and I started growing. And it's like, if I hadn't developed myself as a person, I could never have like changed industries or gone into different kinds of roles or whatever. Like, so it really is. I mean, that's the key. It's the most important part, I think. I
think too, the self-reflection is huge because whether you're in business or in leadership or, wherever you are, I think looking back to see what you did well, what habits you have well, where you have room for opportunity. I think those things are really great to get really crystal clear on before moving forward. Because why keep doing the same thing if it's not leading to where we want to go? So often the reason why we didn't get to a goal is either because the goal wasn't in line with us and it wasn't really that important anyway, or just because the way we were trying to execute was not accurate. We were not striking the right chord to get where we wanted to go. So how can we course correct? And self-reflection is everything. If we can't self-coach and self-reflect, I think it's always difficult to grow because nobody's watching us 24/7. And even if they are, we probably don't want to hear what they have to say anyway.
Right. Because that's annoying.
So annoying.
I mean, you make such a great point. Like looking back to see, like, did we actually put in the work, the activity, and like checking ourselves? Like, I'm scared to even think about it, but like checking your screen time, like how much time did you spend on apps and doing some of the things that are probably like most of the time not helping that much, not that helpful, you know? And looking back to see, like, did I invest the time in the places that I said I was going to? And from a practical standpoint, I think like leading into this year, it might be that we should keep better records if we don't know, you know what I mean? Like, all right, how many people did I reach out to a day if I'm trying to get more clients?
Right.
And keeping ourselves accountable to that, right? Because like you're saying, nobody's watching us 24 hours a day. Plus, it's pretty annoying when somebody is.
Totally.
When you're grinding from dawn to done because your vision demands it, your body needs more than motivation. It needs real health infrastructure. That's why the Healthy Hustle is powered by Immunotech, a leader in immune health research for over 4 decades. With patented science focused on glutathione production, the body's master antioxidant, Immunotech delivers clean label, vegan-friendly support for your immune system, energy, recovery, and overall performance. So whatever your training session, pitch meeting, or creative sprint looks like, trust your body to keep pace. Because the hustle doesn't wait and your health can't either. Visit Immunotech.com and take command of your immune advantage. Immunotech, the science of living better.
But I think you bring up a great point because keeping records is kind of how you keep yourself accountable. And I have a paper planner. And I think so often if I feel like I'm veering, that paper planner, I can go back and look and I can see why I'm veering. That paper planner doesn't look the same as it does when I'm firing on all cylinders. And so while I also have a copy of my planner in my phone, that paper planner where, you know, you keep an actual copy of your to-dos, your tasks, what your agenda looks like. I think that's really honest sometimes. I think that's a great way to keep records. I always think, you know, if you don't have time, the best way to get things done is to give yourself less time. Sometimes when you give yourself less time, it creates time because then, you know, you're actually staying really focused and intentional on your task. And I think sometimes not all personality types relate to this, but if you're a little bit of like an A, B personality, kind of like me, you know, I sometimes relate to type A and other times I'm like, whoa, hey, there's a squirrel, you know, and then I'll completely change conversations. But when I give myself less time, you make more time because you don't have the time to fall into the scroll hole or doom scrolling like my husband likes to call it, you know?
Yeah. I mean, we had a practical example of this last night that happened. So, you know, our little guy, my husband's like, I need you to put away the dishes. And I'm like, I made cioppino last night for the first time, which was so fun. But I'm making all this food and we're making dishes as we go, but there's all these clean dishes that have to be put away. So Chris is like, Tatum, put these dishes away. And it was like 20 minutes and Tatum's like rolling around on an exercise ball and jumping around doing everything but that, you know? So finally then Chris is like, I'm going to set the timer for 4 minutes or whatever, 10 minutes. And he sets the timer and he's like, okay, if this goes off and you haven't done it, then you don't get your iPad tomorrow. And guess what? He did it and he got it done in way less time than he would have done. I don't know. He never would have gotten it done if we didn't, you know what I'm saying? But the same thing, I know that's like such a simplistic example, but it's so true of ourselves. And then giving ourselves, like you're saying, that lack where it's like, I'm not going to give myself all day to accomplish this. Like I'm going to accomplish it by 9 a.m., for example. So it's like, especially if it's something you're dreading, like get it over with early in the day, get it over with, move on to other things and move on with your life, you know?
Well, and I think that's a great thing for people who don't know where they begin with goals is become more intentional. If you think about it, start doing, right?
I love that.
That was one thing I thought this year I'm going to definitely do that more, is if I'm thinking about it, not putting it on my list, just doing it. Now, with the holidays, people are home, there's less things on the agenda. So I will say I'm really proud of me because I started doing that this year already. I cleaned out my pantry. I cleaned out my cabinets. I cleaned out a closet, and it was because I thought about it. I was like, I'm just going to do it now. And, now it's not going to be on my list to be done in April, because otherwise it probably would have been on my list from January to April, because it was one of those things that wasn't fun, wasn't exciting, and things were probably going to be okay if it didn't happen. But that frees up me in other areas of my life, and it gives me more mental bandwidth to be more focused on other activities. And I know I operate better like that.
That's so good. I totally agree with that, especially if it's a task that's going to take less than 5 minutes. As soon as you think of it, do it. Like, yes. I'm famous for I will use my calendar to put reminders in, email so-and-so tomorrow or respond to this thing. And it's all those things take 1 minute. So wouldn't it be better for me to just, even if it's the middle of the night, for example, my thinking time, write the email and then have it send itself later, that kind of stuff, versus making this long list and then figuring out when to do it. And it's not just the to-do items, right? But it's those activities. It's the rhythms that we talked about before. It's don't wait till Monday. Don't wait till January 1st, or whatever, to start the program, start the plan, to stop eating sugar, whatever that thing is, just do it when you think about it.
I love that. And, even little things that don't seem like they relate to business do. I learned this from a really smart lady in business several years ago. And she was just saying, if your place is a mess, it's really taking up brain space to where you're not functioning the way you can, especially if you work from home. If you work from home, it's sometimes really difficult to really get in a space of efficiency when everything's in chaos around you. If you have closets that need cleaned out, your refrigerator's dirty, it has a dead fly in it. Speaking from experience.
Oh my gosh, I just had that too.
Me
what
too.
in the world?
I literally, I was waiting on an Instacart order, and I was about to do a Kroger pickup order. I think this was Sunday. And I was like, you know what? I need to clean out my fridge. So I just did it. And you know what? I felt way better. And now it's off my list. It's not one of those things that's going to be cluttering my mind, and it's going to make me more efficient at home. Yeah. So I really love that advice I got years ago, because it is so true. Every time you get your space around you clear and free, then it just opens up a whole world of possibilities of what you can aspire to be and what
Next,
you can
we're
do.
going to bring on Marie Kondo or something.
I think get that dead fly out of your fridge.
Yes, get it out.
And I think it's important to have those deals with yourself and start to establish those habits with ourselves that we know that once we commit, we're all in. Mm-hmm. Just for example, when I was cleaning out the fridge and I'm I'm going to do this, it was kind of on a whim, but I did it on a whim intentionally. It's everything comes out of the freezer and onto the counter because I was committed at that point.
And then you're stuck with it. You have to do it, right?
Had to do it. In my mind, I told myself it was going to take 10 minutes, and it probably took me an hour. But I did it.
I love it. That's so good.
Yeah. What about you? Do you have any tips to get you through some of those tasks that you don't want to do, but you don't procrastinate?
The first one that comes to mind, especially as it relates to working from home, is getting up, making the bed right away. And that's the classic example, yeah. Right? That's not new, but it really does make a difference, because I think if you have those things in your space that are distracting, that it does make me go, oh, I see some laundry over there. Let me go start another load, versus doing the things I need to do, to really stay committed to that. So that's one for me that just really sets the day in motion if I do that.
Well, we also have a lot of people that are listening that are probably on a health journey with New Year's and trying to be more disciplined. But one that stands out for me is, once I put my workout shoes on, I know I'm committed. I'm going to take that walk, or I'm going to get on the treadmill. So if you can just kind of give yourself one thing, what's going to be the one that spurs you? For me, it's putting on my workout shoes, or once I get clothes on or shoes on, I'm committed and I'm going to go, because I don't back out of things once I initiate. So I think maybe that's also another good one, is just telling ourselves once we start, once we take that first step, there's no turning back, whatever it is.
Yeah. And I think there's science behind that, mm-hmm. right? Where it's I've heard people talk about setting their workout clothes and their shoes next to their bed bed, so that literally they have to step on them to get up out of the bed.
That's
so like
good.
same concept, right? To make sure that they're there and you're going to go regardless. I think same thing could be true of like, I'm a big journaler, like when we were talking about documenting stuff earlier, like for me, I can look back through my journal and go like, oh, here was my goal, or here was my prayer, or here's what was on my mind. And I can see like how my life has evolved from that and what's better, and what has improved. And it's like so helpful. But I have to have, like, I'll have my Bible and my journal like sitting out in the living room in the morning, so that I know that if I pass that up and I don't sit down and do the things that I know are going to help me to set the tone for the day, that I like regret it every single time. And I have to consciously walk by it and be like, see ya, like not do it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And so having it in that visible place for me is really, really important.
That's so true, because it is when you're thinking and being like really gracious for what you have and the things that you're unclear on, when you're putting it out there consistently, you do get answers in some fashion. I was just looking at something from would have been 7 years ago now, where it was my daily gratitudes and my daily visions. And it was about getting clarity on whether or not I should have another baby. And she's 6 now. Isn't that true how it comes about?
That's awesome. Mm-hmm. I love that. Well, I know that there are people listening that maybe feel like they need to figure out what's next or how big they want to dream this year. And I want to encourage people to like go big or go home.
Oh, yeah.
Whether it's starting with the smallest habit or whether it's a career change or a new business or whatever, but it's like, it's time to go. I love this time of year for that.
I feel like, and you're never too old. I love the story you shared with us the other day, and I'm going to kind of go into this. I absolutely love the fact that nobody's ever too old to reinvent themselves. And sometimes the most successful people don't start their actual journey that gets them where they're going until they're over 40. Mm-hmm. And there's magic in that.
Yeah.
We're both over 40. So you have a great story. I would love it if we could bring that up today.
Okay. I'm going to pull it up right now. Okay. So listen to this. Just 1 month before launching her dream business, her world collapsed. Her husband died suddenly of a heart attack. So imagine 1 month before you're about to launch your dream business. So it was 1963 and she was 45 years old. And everyone around her told her that she shouldn't continue with this business. Her friends urged her to wait. Advisors said she was being reckless by moving forward. Even her lawyer and her banker insisted that the plan would fail. But for 25 years, she had worked in sales, training men who were repeatedly promoted over her while she stayed right where she was. She was overlooked, undervalued, passed by, and finally she'd had enough. So she quit her job. She sat down at her kitchen table and wrote a business plan with one clear mission: to build something that would empower women. She invested her entire life savings of $5,000 into the idea. And then, despite grief and fear, despite everyone warning her that it was the wrong time, she moved forward anyway. She opened a small cosmetics shop in Dallas. And in the very first year, the company sold nearly $200,000 worth of product, far beyond anyone's expectations. Within a few short years, sales climbed into the millions. A nationwide network of women began building businesses of their own. The woman everyone underestimated had built a billion-dollar brand. And she famously said this: aerodynamically, the bumblebee shouldn't be able to fly, but it doesn't know that, so it goes on flying anyway. And her name was Mary Kay Ash.
I have chills.
I know. I love that story.
I have chills. Whoops. And she's an icon, and she paved the way, and she changed so many women's lives.
Yes.
Starting in 1963 and 200,000 in 1963. I mean, I'm no expert on the economy and the inflation, but I'm going to guess that's like several million in today's dollars.
I think
for
you're
first
right.
year of launch.
That's amazing.
Wild.
Yes. And so if you're listening and you're like, who's Mary Kay Ash? Mary Kay. Like, if you think of like, maybe you haven't worn the makeup, but your mom did, your grandma did, somebody you knew has worn that brand. And I think what's so cool about it, it's not just like, oh yeah, she had great sales. Like, she really empowered women to grow. And it's cool when you think about like, you know, it's just iconic, like the pink Cadillacs, and just like the way that they did it was like setting these women up to be able to have recognition and success in a way that, especially when she started in the 60s, women were not getting in the corporate world. Definitely it just wasn't happening, you know? And
at
so
45,
yes,
45, when most people feel like I should have arrived by now.
Yeah. Yeah. I know we think that, but I just read something not long ago that like our most influential decade of our lives is our 70s. And after that, it was 80s, I believe, then 60s. It was like this weird order, but it was like, we all get it in our minds that it's like, I'm too late. Oh, I waited too long. But it's like most people who write their first book are in their 40s, you know, like there's all these things that are accomplishable still. KFC, isn't it KFC?
Oh, Colonel Sanders.
Yeah.
Yes.
He was like 60 something, I think.
That is so true.
So it's like, I don't know. I mean, and it doesn't, I mean, if you're a younger listener, like same thing is true, you know, like don't wait. Like you can do stuff now right where you are, but it's just never too late. It's never too late.
It's just been practice, dress rehearsal.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and we talked earlier a little bit about the idea thing too, right? Like she really had to hold her own in that. It's like, if you're a lawyer, if you're a finance guy, if you're friends, if everybody's telling you, okay, we know you wanted to start this little business. We both love what
little
people say.
business.
Your little business. But your husband just died. So maybe don't do that. Like, that's not safe for you anymore. You need to just hold on to the money that you have. Like, I can just imagine the things they said to her, but her like internal motivation and her resolve to do that business was so strong that she stuck in it when everyone else told her not to. Like, there's something to be said for that.
And I feel like she was at a time too where, you know, in the 60s, women had to heavily rely on their significant other, their spouse, for income sources. So she knew that she had to count on herself at that point.
Great.
Where
point.
instead of using, you know, that as her excuse or her delay, or maybe this will never happen because I've had to go through something awful, it was almost like her propellant.
Yeah.
I love that though. When you see a roadblock, it's always an opportunity. And that's just proof.
Yeah. And it goes back to what we talked about earlier, how important it is to get quiet and really understand what you want with your goals in your life and commit to it in such a way that when people who are like well-meaning, like we talked about, like they're either a grandmother and they want to protect you, or they're a peer and maybe they're like a little jealous of what you're doing, or they're just, it makes them internally go like, oh, why didn't I do that? You know, and they're like naysayers that love you and they care about you, but they're going to deter you from doing the things you want to do if you're not really sure about what they are.
Right. Well, there's always the people that want to protect you from failure because they put their own insecurities and they are fearful of those things coming to life for you. So they try to protect you in a way that they mean well for you. And so I love where we were talking earlier. Sometimes you have that idea, you just don't share it immediately.
Right. Yeah. And there's wisdom in knowing when to share it, who to share it with, how soon to share it. Like, I'm a verbal processor, as we all know. And so there's been so many times, like I come up with something and I'm immediately like processing, you know, and talking about it and bringing it up. And it's like, sometimes it's not formulated well enough, or I don't have the right like armor in place to be able to receive like negative feedback about it or other people's ideas when mine's still being formed. You know what I mean?
Right.
So like sometimes maybe it's a goal or a thing you want to accomplish this year, and it's like, might not be time to say it quite yet. Other times it is time, and you say it because it's what holds you accountable, but it's just the wisdom of knowing which one
And I think that's good. And I think also knowing who you are. And I think we could probably all think about the people who get an idea and they immediately just act on it. You know, I have a good friend that she gets an idea. She gets lots of ideas and she'll go and she'll just go. And I think it's great because, you know, she's learned with a few ideas that weren't for her. And then she found her path because she was immediately like, oh, I've got an idea and then I'm going to act on it. Oh, that's not the direction I want to go. Let me course correct and I'll take this one and do it a little bit differently. So I think knowing your personality type and how you learn and how you refine your processes.
Yeah. It reminds me of that phrase, success moves fast.
Yeah.
You know, and like I have examples where I can think back to when, you know, me and another person were both like wanting to try the same thing at the same time. and I hesitated and waited and kind of wasn't sure and whatever. And I have multiple examples of this, but other people are faster and they just went for it. And sometimes it was massively successful. And so sometimes I'm like, oh man, maybe I was supposed to move faster on that. And other times it's like, it just wasn't for me, and that's okay. But I do think there's something to be said just about pulling everything out of your fridge and then having no choice but to clean it and put it all back in, about moving in that direction, even if it's just one step. Thanks for joining us on The Healthy Hustle. If this was helpful for you, please share it with a friend. We'd love for you to like and subscribe.
See you next week.